Well, very warm welcome everybody back to the Deviant Racing League's Season 4.1. This is the GTD race around Suzuka for round 4 of the championship. My name is Webbo, with my apologies for the lateness of getting this video to you, and also my apologies in advance for the quality of my voice. But I am going to give it my best, so I do hope you'll forgive any sniffing or coughing that might result. I'll try and pause it if that's the situation. Where do we stand with the championship? Let's talk constructors first of all. Team Chameleon lead on 122 points overall, ahead of Team Universal, who are on 85 points. Team Cannonball have 76, with Karate Tortoises on 74. Team Amazon have 76 overall, but with a drop score, are also level with Team Cannonball. We have Team America on 74 and Team Pike Fitness on 76. It's incredibly tight in the Constructors' Championship. Then on the Drivers' Championship, we'll talk about that in just a moment as we go through the grid here. We have Mercury sitting in the safety car driver seat. Unfortunately, the safety car is going to be a surprise to me for this race. We have Billy Bob at the back of the grid for Amazon Prime Video, and Billy Bob is currently not appearing on my standings, unless I am also hallucinating as well. We have Saito in P12 on the grid and also P12 in the championship at the moment. He's actually joint 11th with Huge Jar and Kuros Kai on 14 points each. Kuros Kai himself then in 11th position on the grid for the Karate Tortoises, and then we have T Deeds, who finds himself in 10th, qualifying in the all-new livery. More on the liveries, of course, later on. He's in 9th in the championship at the moment with 22 overall, 16 with a drop score. We have Jim qualifying 9th there on the left, another new livery, which is great to see. And Jim is showing on my screen as second in the championship, and 39 points overall. We have Sully in 8th position on the grid, also 8th position in the championship with 20 points, joint 7th with Aussie Man. Then comes Thrasher in 7th on the grid here today. Thrasher currently showing 22 points with a drop score, 31 as an overall score, just below the promotion line at the moment for the playoffs. Arcane is in 6th place with having won the first 2 races, and 2nd place in the 3rd race. Is on a fantastic run of form. The streak ended, but he'll be looking to try and do a good job today, I'm sure, here in Suzuka for Team Pike Fitness in the home race. Certainly closest to home race for the Nismo group. Then we have Astonishing, showing in 5th place on the grid as well. He is also rocking the Pike Fitness, of course, the Team Chameleons are rocking Pike Fitness liveries today, and are direct copies in the Supra. Aussie, as I mentioned earlier, he's on the second row in 4th, joined with Huge Jar, who is in that 3rd place on the grid, but 11th in the championship right now, with Bongit in 2nd. On the grid, good showing for him, 4th in the standings, equal on points with Thrasher, although a fair few fewer points there than Thrasher overall. Dirksey has managed to get himself up into the top pole position for today's race, and he is on in 6th place in the championship, although joint with a drop score with Thrasher and Bongit. Well, that's enough chatter. Let's get ourselves ready for our 1-hour race here around the historic Suzuka circuit in the low light conditions at this current time, but that, of course, will change as a result of the remainder of the race. And we shall get ourselves ready to race. Just intel ahead of the race. I heard from Don't Need Time, who was expecting some of the manufacturers that aren't connected with this particular race to do very well. But the American vehicles may struggle, the Dodges and the Fords may struggle today, and we're expecting to see very low tyre wear. So this track will presumably reward the drivers for consistency, and obviously it's a very, very tricky track here. Anyway, let's get going for the race. It's time to go racing. The revs are building, and it's dropped the clutch, and go, 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 and a nice launch from the front 2 rows of the grid, actually running in turn, and we've got a karate tortoise there. It might be Saito. No, it's Arcane coming down the inside of his colleague. Huge Jar having a problem going through turn 1 and slotting back in the Ford GT as he tries to get the car up into good operating temperature. He's on the medium tyres, and he's got Arcane on the hard tyres in the Supra ahead of him, and that is a bit of a nightmare start then for Huge Jar, dropping down a couple of places from this early stage. Dirksey has lost out straight away there to Bongit. Let's check that one out again. He actually left the inside door open, and Bongit has cruised on through very, very quickly. So a nice move for Bongit. For him. Dirksey on the hard tyres, so is Bongit. And then Aussie, your first medium runner, who is hounding the back. Excuse me. Astonishing is hounding the back of Aussie at the moment, but Aussie in the Audi is running very neat and tidy through those S's, and now they're into the Dunlop corner, the final of the S's, and then they'll be heading down towards the ferociously fast and tricky Degner pairing. Excuse me. I will just take a quick drink. Sorry. And away then through into Degner 2. I will try not to disturb your enjoyment of the race too much as we run through. Then you can see Bully Bob down in 12th. T Deeds has lost out and has struggled there with the Ford once again going through the Degners, and he's straight into the gravel through Degner 1. And I think Mercury is going to struggle not to run into him, unfortunately for him, and back on. So a problem there for getting the Ford GT up to temperature for both of the drivers in the Team America. Dirksey is struggling, you have to say, on these hard tyres for the beautiful Prime Video livery here for his team, for Team Amazon, as Aussie goes for a nibble into Spoon 1. That was a little bit on the clumsy side, but he's got Dragon Ball Z character on the bonnet. I'm just tripping over my US UK aphorisms here. He's got Dragon Ball Z character on the hood, I should say, as the light effects are already changing through 130R. Then we go at full chat as we head. And then it's Dirksey having a problem through that very, very fast 130R, slipping around, managing to rescue the car, but slipping down 2 positions from Aussie, and Astonishing getting the positions, and now Arcane with a run here on the way through the Casio Triangle and out through the last curve as they run side by side. But Dirksey with a slight better momentum through the next corner, but he left the door open in turn 1, lap 1. He's done the same thing by no mean feat there through into turn 2 as well on lap 2. And Huge Jar also then being held up slightly as Dirksey turning pole into 5th position on lap 2. That is heartbreaking for him, as you can imagine, as the lights in the slot gaps in the Ford GT continues to impress me, and I'm obviously very, very easily impressed by LED lights, it seems, as they run through. Then we've got Thrasher in 7th, Sully in 8th. Our Saito is running around in P9 at this stage as well, in the Aston Martin with a Honda badge on it, and confusing the heck out of me there. So are we running that? Then we've got Kiros Kai. We do have a yellow flag on the circuit. Let's see if we can't find who exactly caused that one. We've got the driver in the pit lane, and I think, excuse me, where is our driver who has spun off? I think we've actually lost a driver, have we? T Deeds, who I can't seem to select on my track, has had a problem coming through Degner, on the approach to the hairpin, and is seemingly stationary. So unfortunately he is out, it seems, of the race at this stage. We've lost our driver already. T Deeds having a problem. I might even try and find a way to find out where things went wrong for T Deeds. As we go back through a few seconds here, quite a lot of seconds. This is lap 1 of all things. Where is he? And what happened? This is just heading off into the gravel through that corner. This is what we saw in lap 1, but for some reason it looks like a total disconnection. Unfortunately, that can happen with our drivers, sadly. And there he is, parked up in lap 2, essentially. As we run then back to live racing, and we go Bongit in the first position in the Aston Martin for Team Universal, and we'll talk about that choice of livery in a few moments. And running then into that lap 2 we go, as we run through, and Arcane is chasing down a teammate in the Chameleon livery Supra there for the Pike Fitness. Normally we see this, of course, on the Nismo, but these guys running these ghost liveries to try and trick their competitors. I'm still not convinced it's working, but I will hear from the drivers to suggest if it is or not. There you can see the genuine one, which is the Nismo Pike Fitness run there for Thrasher. And Huge Jar then. It looks like the Ford GT with the temperatures back up to position. Now that yellow flag is just going to sit there until the car is cleared, and maybe it won't be. So the drivers are going to struggle. They're not going to be allowed to overtake or run fast through into this section. I wonder where the green flag is showing for the drivers as well, because that's going to be an issue. If they did make an overtake while the car is parked up, will the game decide that they have been illegal in that manoeuvre? And it looks like at the back of the grid right now we have Jim, who has recaught here, but has clearly also had a pretty significant problem. And I would love to find out what's happened to Jim here, but I know we've also already clicked back a few laps. Let's try and find 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When did things go wrong for Jim? 14, 15. Here he is. Okay, it's out of the Degner 2 on the approach to Spoon once again. But had he already had a problem? Because I thought he had qualified a lot further up, but no. Let's ride with Jim and find out what it was. It was fighting with Billy Bob as he heads into Degner 1. He was already having problems, maybe slightly caught out there by the problem that became of T Deeds. And then, yeah, just offline coming out of the next corner, and there's a huge issue then for Jim, sadly. So let's just skip forward a couple of laps, and we'll find out then as we run then back to the action at the head of the grid, as the 50 Shades of Grey livery for Team Universal Studios comes through into that turn 1 at the start of lap 3. Aussie has progressed up to P2 on the medium tyres and is running very nicely indeed. I'm managing to do this without any kind of game sound, and it's kind of off-putting, sadly, so I need to maybe make a change if I do pause it next time. But this is astonishing then, in that third position and running through the order and hoping to try and pounce here on Aussie. In fact, setting himself up with a purple sector for this one. Astonishing as he builds the speed on these hard tyres. Aussie on the mediums and running through the fuel already as the sunrise is now in full effect. Maybe we'll even get a point where the headlights are turned off for our competitors, and Aussie is now trading those purple sectors with astonishing early doors here. Arcane is not far away from the podium and continuing a run of podium streaks. At least that looked like we've got Thrasher going defensive into the Kobayashi hairpin, as I call it. as probably the hairpin made famous by the Japanese driver, and Thrasher running incredibly well there into 6th position, positioning the car then as to not provide an opening for Huge Jar coming up from that 7th position to make the overtake. Aussie is running hard, as we mentioned before, is astonishing. Let's see as they head towards the end of sector 2. Aussie picking up a purple sector in that third sector, excuse me, and then running down in towards that Casio triangle. The gaps already opening up for our drivers, but of course we close those gaps back up again after the safety car, during the safety car, and try to open up those options then for the drivers' strategies. That was Aussie with the new fastest lap of 2:02.983. Our Canadian racers, Canada 1 and 2 at the moment, with astonishing in that provisional 3rd position. Arcane, our double winner so far in this fantastic GTD series, is in 4th place, knocking on the door of potential podium and on the hard tyres as well. Dirksy, Thrasher, Huge Star are a triplicate of rivals coming through then in 4th, 5th and 6th position. Thrasher still heavily defending here on the hard tyres from Huge Jar, who is on the mediums and has got to grips, I think, with this newly liveried Team America Ford GT. But this looks to be the battle going on at the moment, with glorious sunrise effects there on Gran Turismo, and of course they're going to give their absolute best to the Suzuka circuit as they run through. This is a challenging and difficult racetrack for the drivers to maintain consistency, but the tyres not a big worry, it seems. We could just do with zooming that camera out or just tilting it slightly to the right, because the action is going to happen underneath the race tower, isn't it? So that's kind of frustrating to an extent, but anyway, no moaning from me. This is a beautiful game. Behind this group then, as things are fairly quiet between them, Sully is in 8th, our Saito is in 9th, we have Kuros Kai in 10th place, little gap there to the car in front, and then Jim defending heavily from Billy Bob. Remember, Jim is a great driver at pulling out strategies late in the race. It's Billy Bob with those gorgeous chase lines on the Hyundai, struggling for grip at the moment in that 12th place. Bongit Imperious in 1st place, as Aussie has had a problem straight away heading into the Casio triangle. Let's join him on board, and it's just late on the brakes and then trying to get the car back under order, and helped in no small part by Astonishing's little nudge in the rear. Astonishing not really avoiding action. Should we maybe have a see if Astonishing could have perhaps done a little better? Let's have a look, as Aussie has made a mistake. We're on the racing line here. Well, Aussie, maybe unsafe rejoin. Maybe Astonishing could have given that a little bit of more racing room, you have to say. It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, as we say here in the UK. Not quite sure of the US version of that phrase, but that means that the Team Chameleon Supras are now 2nd and 3rd on the track. And now Arcane, well, I thought he was going to start pressurizing his teammate. Certainly he'd regained some track position on his teammate and gained some time, but in the dirty air, going through turn 1 is a difficult place to be, and Arcane has struggled and slip-slid off the track in towards turn 2. Of course, if you lose it in turn 1, it's only going to compound into a repeated right-hand turn. Now Thrasher struggling here with understeer, going through the S's again. Dirty air, worse tyres than the driver behind him. Dirksy holding on at the moment. Remember, pole sitter Dirksy down now in 4th position, and we have issues then for various drivers through the field, and we will continue to see those kind of mistakes, I think, at this difficult circuit to drive consistently. Door open for Huge Jar, and Huge Jar not needing a second invitation. Let's join him on board then and see if he can get the car exiting nicely. It was a struggle to come out of the hairpin on the inside line, but certainly that Nismo is blocking the view to these corners, and that's exactly what happens. You just can't quite see what's going to happen to you. Where the track is, you get too close up. Of course, sitting lower in the 4GT in comparison to Thrasher's Nismo, and then you've got this toweringly tall Nismo directly in front of you, and Huge-Jar not quite leaving the margin he needed, but you have to race hard and you have to take every opportunity that's available to you. So he'll take that, he'll learn that from that, and he'll try and just regain that position. But this triplicate that were running super close together have now opened out again. How are Arcane and Dirksey doing? Well, Dirksey is actually dropping back from Arcane slightly. Arcane now with the bit between his teeth, perhaps slightly miffed as well, than wanting to try and make up for that previous trip through the corner. We're 10 minutes, nearly 11 minutes deep into the 1 hour race. As I said before, don't know the safety car lap as I'm coming into this cold without the benefit of a live audience with me here. I figured it's better for me to get the video done when I can, and scheduled for a release when you guys are more likely to be able to watch together rather than with me, as it were. Aussie in 7th, Sully in 8th as they run through, and the drivers now just trying to manage the run there with their trying to manage this stint and the tyre length until the safety car comes out. Well, I'm still struggling to understand why we have a Honda logo on this car. I'll try and figure that one out during the safety cars. Kuros Kai is moving around quite considerably there, is struggling on these hard tyres. Jim unable to really take advantage at this stage. They're in 11th position, but kind of expecting Jim to feature further up. He has a good eye on strategy, Jim, so doesn't always translate a poor qualifying into a poor race result. Thanks for the Webbo com sticker there on the door area of the car. Just spotted that one, appreciate it. As Mercury sits and waits in the pit lane. Looks like we have cleared that stricken car, so the yellow flag will now be lifted. Billy Bob some distance away from the battle here for 10th between Kuros Kai and Jim, as we'll just sit on the Apex camera as we go through 130R. Touch of the brakes from Kuros Kai, perhaps not enough of a touch of the brakes from Jim as we run wide through the corner. And if you lose time, you're okay. If you gain a little bit of time, Gran Turismo will almost certainly give you a time penalty to pay on the next trip round. Kuros Kai just moving around slightly in Jim's eye line. I wonder if that's a little bit of lag there on his car, and we can maybe see from the rear bumper, rear fender of Kuros Kai, to see where Jim might gain, might lose out, as that's Bongit just passing the start-finish line right now. You can see just smoothly through the gears. Yeah, okay, smoothly through the gears and then not so smoothly through the track, as Jim then takes that opportunity to make the overtake from Kuros Kai, who drifted wide through turn 4 or into 5, I think it was, as then the Karate Tortoises, I'm really struggling with my words today, excuse me, dropped down to P11 then. Let's go back, see if we can't find ourselves another fierce battle going on. Well, this is Aussie chasing down Huge-Jar for 6th place. At the head of the field, Bongit still leads Astonishing and Arcane for the first 3 positions. That has not changed just yet, but some of the positions further back definitely are. Here is the 55 then of the Canadian Aussie, as he tries to learn a little bit then about how Huge-Jar is running through this 130R. How does that Ford GT handle in comparison to the car we're driving? Well, it's very understeery for Huge-Jar, and it was a little bit oversteery possibly, or at least we got too much of the corner. Now, was that move really on? I think we should probably have another look at that one, because that came from a long way back, but on the back of a mistake from Huge-Jar. Almost forced into it, I think, to take avoiding action as things looked from this perspective at least. Huge Jar leaving the door open, braking early because he wasn't sure what his tyres would do, and Aussie making the move. So I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of that move then from Aussie, but he did indeed decide not to take advantage of any contact there and held back for future. So I think all's fair in love, war and racing as we run through then turn 2 and sniff around and have a look around that back of that diffuser, see if we can't find a way through past Huge Jar, or at least pressure him into another error I should say, another understeery moment there, as the medium tyres are definitely wearing pretty quickly on this Audi. It seems lap 8 here, and only 15 minutes deep into the race, a little bit ahead of perhaps predictions that I received from Don't Need Time earlier in the race. And you're more than welcome to DM me ahead of the race. Please don't DM me during the race or after the race if I'm not going live, but as I don't want spoilers. Aussie then looking for an opportunity into the Kobayashi hairpin. It was covered off momentarily there by Huge Jar, and Aussie having to try and find another avenue. He should get a better run through this hairpin, but it's not quite enough to build some momentum on the approach to Spoon. You just got to concentrate on getting your run through Spoon correctly. If you're following another car, it's all about just cranking on that extra bit of steering lock in, trying to take a different line and not have the air taken off your front splitter just like that from Aussie as you run through Spoon 2, so that you can nail the throttle on the way out and give up the best racing line in order to get the best exit out of the corner. We're actually still in sight there of Thrasher up ahead, as Bongit now does in fact pit with just 3% of fuel remaining. He has run pretty rich and astonishing pits as well. Arcane, taking it a little bit more circumspect, has gone through and is not pitting on this lap, and neither will these two cars either, I don't expect. So Arcane, with a fair amount more fuel than the cars in front, is playing the chess to checkers kind of approach here to try and run long. Dirksey doing the same thing and remaining calm after a difficult start here for the Amazon driver, and he is managing his fuel a little bit more effectively perhaps than Bongit and Astonishing. There's only so much you can do. Of course you can alter the richness of your mix, but we're still waiting again, as I said before, on that safety car. Looks like Astonishing has shorter fueled than Bongit to get track position, soft tyres, so it tells me that we are expecting the safety car fairly soon, because Astonishing wouldn't be doing this short soft tyre run if it didn't mean that the track position wouldn't close in again. He's just half fueled the car, so I would imagine that within 10 minutes we will have that safety car coming in, but he wants to give himself that opportunity to get the fastest lap. But Bongit's done the same, but overfueled in comparison to a 3/4 of a tank, explaining the swap round of those two positions. So Astonishing out there. What does his track look like in front? I think it's okay. He has got a nice open track. He will give up a little bit of slipstream to Bongit. I don't think it's quite worth the penalty for Bongit of running an extra quarter tank of fuel, but there we see. We'll see if we run for a fastest lap attempt there from Astonishing and Bongit. That will be the run then into lap 10, I believe. This is then the battle between these three drivers, Aussie, Thrasher and Huge Jar, that continues. Aussie at the front of that group. Arcane now does in fact pit as well on 6% fuel, so the fuel has been disappearing at a fair rate of knots. Thrasher goes around and is the last to pit here. Not exactly living up to his name in terms of fuel usage, Thrasher, but he's got tyres and he's got what he believes to be enough fuel left in the car to run through, and I'm going to join, I think, Astonishing and see if we can't run a fastest lap attempt. We'll perhaps run between the two drivers here, Astonishing and Bongit. Just looking out the back window, and Bongit is going to go for it as well, I imagine. And we wait to see then when that safety car will come out. It's lap 10 and it is minute 19 of our 1 hour race. So that's how things stand. Soft tyres then on the car. Thrasher yet to pit, but still leading the race. Sully, I haven't checked in on. I think Sully also not pitting yet. There is a 0.6 of a second improvement in the fastest lap attempt. Bongit, there's no way that's going to be a fastest lap as he travels across the gravel and heads off to maybe run in the next lap. Astonishing's line looks a little bit leery and certainly on the limit going into Degner 1. That might have cost him running into Degner 2, but he's still 8.5 tenths up here on his next fastest lap attempt. That was Sully going wide and struggling on his tyres, so almost certainly communicating to me that those hard tyres are well past their best. But check out the fuel on Sully's car at the moment. He is looking very, very good on that fuel. So he's hoping to get all the way, I think, to the safety car. Entering into Spoon then, we go with Astonishing. He'll love to get the slipstream on the back of Sully, but I think he'll lose going into the Casio triangle as a result. So let's see how much of an advantage that will give him. He'll lose a little bit going through 130R as well. Look at that, you can feel the slipstream coming, and that is a 139.3 so far on the lap, and it's still purple for Astonishing. Sully is blocking that Casio triangle. A very late manoeuvre going into the corner there. That will cost him a little bit, but not perhaps as much as running behind Sully, whose tyres have completely dropped off a cliff. And why is Sully not pitting? This then is the bid for fastest lap, and he's gone to Astonishing, excuse me, a 202.225. Could be as fast as we see the cars going, and maybe Bongit will have his turn now to have a go. But he also has Sully now in front of him, as Astonishing did, and Astonishing was absolutely max commitment to making that work. Thrasher pits from the lead of the race. The lead back then in the hands of the driver who was in the provisional podium positions earlier on, that is Astonishing. Sully is still in second position, but as I said before, really, really struggling on those tyres. He will be the last of the pitters in the Honda NSX, and has managed to make that run very nicely. Bongit, though, would love to make this opportunity work for the fastest lap, but Sully is playing spoiler to other drivers' fastest lap attempts, and that is obviously going to be hurting him. Astonishing has a clear track now. Maybe he'll go even faster. I'll check in with him in a moment, but Sully is costing Bongit, no doubt. Does he now move aside? I think he does, but that is perhaps too little, too late for Bongit on this lap when his tyres are at their absolute best, and now they're looking absolutely awful, those soft tyres. I don't think that either driver are going to have the grip left here. Let's just ride with Astonishing to see, as he approaches the end of Sector 2, will he have managed to better that previous time? Now he's in clear air, or will he gain some in the final sector? No, it's 1.3 seconds it is costing him to be on his second fast lap. Bongit, I imagine this will go green, his lap here. I didn't see, unfortunately, as he runs wide as well. So Astonishing, is he going to head into the pit lane? Yes, indeed. So Astonishing into the pits. That tells me that I think it will be lap 12 that the safety car will come out. Bongit goes round though, to hold track position on a dodgy old set of softs here, as Astonishing pits. Obviously ran fully rich. Sully pits, Jim pits. This is where the drivers are now going to come in and get themselves ready to race. Arcane in now second position, catching back, and he's on fresh hard tyres. He did brim the tank there with the fuel, as Dirksey is in third place now, and now his strategy is starting to work out, I think. He's on the faster of the two tyres. He would love to make an overtake work very soon here, so that he can gain track position ahead of a hard tyre shod Arcane. I'm not sure whether he knows that he's on the hard tyres, but he'll probably sense that now already by following Arcane, who's on those fresh hards and is struggling. So Dirksey knows that Arcane isn't lacking for speed, thanks to his form in the earlier part of this season, but he would love to make a manoeuvre and get by Arcane before the safety car emerges from the pit lane, which I'm expecting to happen pretty soon to try and catch these leaders. Is that the start of some movement? No, not yet. Then we're still fairly dark shadows on the approach to the hairpin. That will keep the track cool on a crucial braking point for the corner. Bongit is your leader, ahead of Arcane, although I'm expecting Bongit to need to pit. He might decide though to run and pit on the first viable lap after the safety car to maximise his run in the second half of the race. I wonder if he'll try and get 30 plus minutes of running on the hard tyres and just one stint. That's that final part after the safety car. I'm just waiting to see if our safety car will actually emerge at this point. If it is, he's going to be very, very late. No, Bongit goes round again, and there we go. The safety car is now coming out. That felt like it was perhaps a little bit tardy, but he's out in time. Bongit has already slowed. Safety car has been released, so all the drivers behind will now settle in for their runs. We can't see pitting happening on this lap. It will be the next one. So Bongit can tour around now on completely shredded soft tyres and just hope he doesn't bin it. There you go, the hazard lights are on, and he's ready to go. This is then the 50 Shades of Grey livery. Of course, there are multiple shades of grey. I'm not sure if they've managed to actually achieve 50, but a very original take on the Team Universal Studios, and I doff my cap. That is a very clever livery. I'm liking it from Bongit. Great stuff. Congrats to the designer. Of course, Team Chameleon, this is going to be a fairly easy and steady safety car period for us, because the Pike Fitness we've seen, they've just put the Supra on there, Supra line on there, so that's again, the Supra is such a distinctive looking car, very, very difficult for our drivers to pose as another driver, another team. The Hyundai of Team Amazon looking resplendent with those beautiful accent lines. I really dig this one. I've probably said so before. Dragon Ball Z for the Cannonball team. So very appropriate from our guys here. Love to see it. Fantastic stuff. And something about Capsule Corp. Now, I'm not a Dragon Ball Z or anime fan myself, so I don't necessarily get that, but I imagine it's part of Dragon Ball Z. And there's a Webbo sticker on the roof as well. Team America have gone very stealthy with this new take on the old stickers. So they've kind of remasked up the Ford GT, taken off the red, white and blue, and gone for a very dark, moody matte grey and black fade, which is great. It looks very stylish. I'm not sure in the low light quite how well it's appearing, but in the bright sunshine this will look the business for sure. Still Team Pike Fitness, no change, no, not even a special sticker or anything really on this one. So I'd love to see some race specific takes on it, but absolutely hold on to the identity of the team. So the Thing for John Carpenter's The Thing for Team Universal Studios, but I'm not understanding. We've got, it's like an X. It's almost a take on the Team Chameleon take on the Karate Tortoises with the turtle wax livery there. That is, I mean, it's confusing. It's a lot of things, this one. It's a split livery down the middle. What are we saying? That the Thing can shapeshift into a tortoise or a chameleon? I apologise, I'm not quite getting it. Sorry, guys. Saito into the pits then. Sully with the Leo take on the Karate Tortoises. We've seen it a lot. We like it. We'd like it to evolve. Is that fair? Sorry. Dragon Ball Z, slightly different take, black and orange. Very smart here from Jim's point of view. Yeah, liking that one very much. And the Mike approach, the Mike colours. Again, huge jar coming out of the pits. Billy Bob, we have talked about, Billy Bob was not shown, but again, white and blue looking great. Really like it. Bravo, you guys. Bongit Dan has pitted from the lead, back down on the medium tyres. Wow, to tackle what will be his second stint, and could be an interesting position in the race. So this is something I can't usually do with live coverage, but I'm going to skip the safety car. Now we've done a full livery reveal on everybody, I'm going to skip the safety car period. Arcane re-inherits the lead. Let's take them all the way down the track before then we run into what will be the restart. And of course the green light is not given until our drivers pass the start finish line, as you well expect. So that is coming up. Here is Arcane with the restart ready, and you'll know as soon as it happens he will hit the gas and go for the second half of our race, neatly divided into two positions, as Dirksey, still with the hazard lights on, has gone for the move immediately down into the inside line. This is a change up for Dirksey, as he has a go down the inside. It's not quite happened for him, and Thrasher and Astonishing are side by side heading through turn 2. The Chameleon and the regular Pike Fitness there, and running side by side and running very, very nicely indeed. Aussie in third place. Dirksey settling into that second place for now, at least. Hard tyres, newish hard tyres for Aussie. I wonder if he can get this car all the way home, or whether the fuel will burn off to such an extent. Astonishing is in a hurry, and he is already going through Dunlop and making the overtake through Dunlop on those new medium tyres. So Astonishing in a hurry to get back on terms with the podium runners, getting that track position back, as Dirksey is looking like he might try a manoeuvre. That was Arcane just shaking the nose and communicating to Dirksey, I'm covering you off into the hairpin. You're going to have to try pretty hard to catch me sleeping. But Dirksey, with the good warm-up period on the tyres, tries to run around the outside on the approach. That is officially the 200R on the approach in towards Spoon, and unfortunately a little bit of impatience there, or perhaps it's smart track positioning from Arcane, but he certainly put the squeeze, shall we say, possibly on Dirksey. Let's run that one round. Let's go back another 10 seconds and see from Dirksey's position, was he given enough racing room on the way through? He had great grip on the way out of the corner. Arcane clearly leaving the door open on the outside. Dirksey, he could have found a little bit more space. There was space there. I don't think he was pushed off at second glance anyway, but he's lost ground. He's on the medium tyres when he least needs to lose ground, and Arcane has got a bit of breathing room. Astonishing though, right with Dirksey, and this is the hunt then for what could in fact be the win, but certainly is for the provisional podium at this stage. Astonishing is following Dirksey on the way into 130R. Remember, cold tyres at this stage on the restart lap, and Astonishing getting some good turn in there. Dirksey really struggling, and Astonishing stuck on the outside, can't really get the overlap, can't fade off the brake and go round. Aussie looking hungry and greedy on the way through the Casio Triangle as well. Aussie also losing out then. Could be that the big winner of this one ends up being Thrasher, who gets the best momentum going through the corner, but the legs of that Audi are stretching away and just discouraging a move going into turn 1 from Thrasher on Aussie. So Aussie holding on at this stage, very planted, wide Audi R8 here for Team Cannonball in the GTD series, and certainly seems to be a more straightforward car to drive, I think, than most on the circuit. But what the hell do I know? I'm only a commentator. Thrasher then, still with the Nismo, chasing down and trying to find an opportunity against Aussie. Arcane leads, Dirksey's second, Astonishing is third at this stage. Aussie leads Thrasher on screen, and we have Sully following up behind him. Just wonder if Thrasher has himself a good run on the way through on the approach to the hairpin, but no, not at this stage. Then we've got Sully, we've got Bongit in 7th from the back of the grid. Bongit on the medium tyres has had an electric restart, and my apologies to him for not being able to track exactly what's been happening with Bongit's restart here, essentially. That was right behind the rest of the grid. Jim in 9th position, also moving forward, not necessarily at quite the same rate, but there down the inside goes our Saito, and I think will come the Team America of Huge Jar as well. After leaving the door open, Jim snaking around on the way out of the corner, and Huge Jar letting the driver back through again, it seems, perhaps. I wonder if Huge Jar made contact and felt like that was the fair thing to do. Let's see. That was a little bit of contact between Saito and Jim. I think it was just slow out of the corner, getting dirty rear left for Huge Jar, and having to then follow as Jim also having problems getting out of that turn. And the hard tyres definitely difficult to bring up to temperature, but they're hoping to try and get this all the way home, I believe, until the end of the race. Huge Jar in 11th, Billy Bob at the back of the grid at the moment in 12th place, and has obviously had some difficulties after the restart, but Arcane leads us, and Dirksey is certainly having a harder time staying ahead of Astonishing than he is staying with Arcane, and Dirksey running wide then, and once again letting Astonishing through, letting a car through in the sequence between turns 1 and 2. It's been a bit of a Achilles heel then for Dirksey today, despite his prodigious speed in qualifying. Has really been struggling in race trim with race fuel to get through that sequence. So obviously learnings to be had from Dirksey as he runs through here. Presumably he'll get it by the end of the race, but it's obviously a bit of a handful to run his car through there. The Hyundai perhaps not perfectly suited to this track, and again Dirksey just looking wild, just looking a little bit like he's chasing and reacting to the car rather than anticipating being at one with it. Certainly seems like this is a tough day in the office for Dirksey. That Audi is looking menacing in the mirrors left and right and centre for Thrasher as well. I'd love to see the fidelity of the action in the mirrors from the driver's perspective here in Gran Turismo 7. Running into Spoon 1 we go. Nice run of drivers here. That's a classic difference in racing line there. Certainly Thrasher having the better of the two racing lines through Spoon 2, but of course those medium tyres are going to fade soon enough. The hard tyres for Aussie are not going to give the bite into the apex, but they are going to give the life, and they'll get there in the end. Although his tyres aren't looking like they've got enough wear left for the entire race. Big jump over the apex there, perhaps slightly too much from Aussie on both counts, but we'll see if he gets a penalty or if he's actually judged that to perfection. Thrasher looking like the man most likely here in 4th position to make an overtake, and Dirksey is defensive once again. Of course that's just going to cool his tyres. They're going to be on a worse position to hit the brakes, and will one thing compound into another. It's actually Thrasher running ever so slightly wide of the apex of turn 2, so that was Dirksey just positioning the car nicely. That was Sully in the background having a difficult time going through turn 2 as well, and Jim and Huge Jar are still within sight there, just behind this group. Aussie keen to make moves forward, I'm sure. He's got the blue rear of the car rather than the black rear of the car between the two Team Cannibal entries. This is Aussie then as we approach two-thirds distance of the race. I had to check myself there for a moment. Yes, math stuff is not going well for me today. Aussie in 5th, and he is having a look, trying his level best to at least make Thrasher continue to look in the mirrors. Arcane leads us, Astonishing, and Dirksey in that 2nd and 3rd, just up from this car on screen at the moment. Bonga in that 6th place. Bonga though on the medium tyres will probably certainly have to pit again, and it would be absolutely heroic if he got all the way home. Ozzy with some mid-corner understeer through spoon 2. That's going to give some momentum to Bongit, who has a look down the inside, but Ozzy closes the door to his compatriot. Let's see if Ozzy will go fully defensive on the way to the Cassidy. He doesn't need to. Top speed of the Audi, looking great actually today. I wonder if that's just as a result of less downforce on the car, less wing angle, or it's a genuine difference in the car handling. Well, Bongit has got the Aston Martin V12 running a full chat here as we go down towards the turn 1. We've got just enough of the car up the inside. It's not necessarily on the racing line. I think they banged wheel arches, but Bongit forcefully through. Let's have another look from off camera as we try and see what happens here. Did we get a touch of angle from the Aston Martin as we head into turn 1? This is going to be close for sure. So running down into the corner, no, there was actually quite a bit of daylight between the two, and I think Ozzy just left a little bit too much room that time down the inside for Bongit, but allowing his fellow Canadian to make his way through. Bongit though has great pace today, there's absolutely no argument about that. Bit of a surprise to me that Suzuka, the twisty Suzuka circuit, you never really reach full speed, is suiting the Aston Martin quite so much. Or maybe it's the livery, I don't know, maybe it's certainly helping Bongit to continue moving forward. It's that view through his mirror, perhaps through the rear window, that is motivating him to keep going. Well, in P5 right now, in a personal best for Bongit at this stage, having to use the outside line, get some clear air on the front splitter, and Thrasher also making waves here and trying to make his way through past Dirksey. Dirksey is the cork in the bottle here, I think, and we will perhaps see some better speed coming from the cars once they have cleared Dirksey, who is, as we mentioned before, struggling around there a little bit. Arcane and Astonishing are up the road from this battle and battling themselves. Thrasher down the inside through spoon 2, but there's low grip on the exit of spoon 2. It really hurts your exit. Let's just check whether Arcane and Astonishing are about to do-si-do here. They're not. We've had this before actually, Astonishing and Arcane, who you would expect to give the position up to Arcane with his championship position right now and his run of form so far in the season. Certainly team leader in the points. No change in the battle for third position as Thrasher closes the door on the way into the pit lane, as he had to do, but he perhaps could have put his turn signal on to indicate to Bongit that he was headed that way. Perhaps would have helped, as Bongit was hurt there a little bit on his way through the Casio Triangle, now having to turn attack into defence with Ozzy coming up. But certainly Bongit running out of medium tyres now to get this car comfortably through the next sequence, and you can see already missing the apex through turn 3, through turn 4. Ozzy looking a lot better on the hard tyres, both cars low on fuel. On Ozzy impatient to get through, but we've seen before Ozzy is a little bit well, certainly smart enough to not go for a low percentage move. Unfortunately though, I think losing a little bit of grip there on the preceding corners and running wide. Through Degner 2 we go, and he'll hope to try and keep the momentum through there and be able to get down on that throttle nice and quickly. But Bongit has pulled his pace back up again, managed to find a little bit of grip there, gets very early apex through the hairpin, and then has to sort of wait laboriously for the car to grip in, and he can exit the corner at a good speed. Bongit is in that third place and running nicely. So yeah, looking good out there is Bongit, but he will still need to pit again, at least for tyres, if not a little bit of fuel. We're on approaching 3/4 distance now. Astonishing leads Arcane teammates here at the head of the field. Arcane certainly needing to pit again. flashing red with fuel. I think it might be this lap or the next where we see Arcane coming in, and the final pit stop being made by our championship leader. Bongit then cycling through. Here he comes then, Arcane, directly behind his teammate, and Bongit will now get some completely clear air to run and continue his ascendancy here, although of course we'll have to take his own final pit stop fairly soon. He's running nicely, but I think he's perhaps slightly overfueled for this medium tyre stint, but he will save that stationary time as the refueling is happening, and he can use this opportunity to maybe open up the gap slightly. Let's trundle down the grid slightly and see if we can find a battle happening. This is Thrasher and Dirksey once again. Thrasher now out of the pits in front of Dirksey, and that was by shorter fueling. So he's hoping that the fuel economy of the Hyundai is going to be slightly worse there than his Nismo, or at least he can get in clear air and turn the engine down when he needs to. It's certainly going to help because Dirksey has got mirrors full of Jim and I think also Sully there. Yeah, indeed. So Jim and Sully back there. So hard tyres, nearly full tank to finish off the remaining 14 minutes of our Suzuka round here, round 4 of the 7-round championship here at GTD. In third place, chasing down Astonishing, doing whatever he can here to make the difference. He's managed to exit the pits. He's got his teammate in exactly the same strategic position. They're going medium, I think soft, and then medium again tyres. So again, it might be slightly hairy towards the end of the race, but they've got track position at the moment. They're waiting for Bongit to make his pit stop, which I'm assuming is happening pretty soon. Let's see whether Bongit decides that those medium tyres are the worst for wear. He does indeed, and into the pits we go with Bongit. Astonishing in second, Arcane in third. That's about to change, I feel. I don't think Bongit will have opened up enough of a gap when the drivers, when these two drivers have come out on medium tyres. If they'd come out on hard tyres and had trouble building the speed again, then maybe so. Maybe that's a difference that would be made, but we shall see. So back to the action, and we've got Astonishing then taking that lead from Bongit, who is just now coming out of the pits. So riding with Arcane, and you can just see the exiting Team Universal 50 Shades car of Bongit down there in that now third position on new medium tyres, relatively low fueled, but he's rich enough. He'll be able to run rich enough towards an end, but his target is clear and it's in sight, and he couldn't really ask for much more than that. A straightforward pit stop sequence, a good clean outlap, and he should put himself in a great position to challenge then for the big points today, should Bongit. So hoping that his new livery will bring him luck. Thrasher is in fourth place, has pitted, is on hard tyres though, unfortunately for him, but he'll be hoping there that the drivers on mediums come unstuck towards the end and he can make sure he can take advantage. Dirksey in fifth place, so unable to make much of a difference there on his rival from earlier on in the race. We've got Jim in sixth, being chased now by Sully, who appears to have his NSX a little bit in a better position. He's still struggling, I think, for grip slightly is Sully, but that is probably more to do with being unsighted from his normal points on the circuit to monitor and see. Running then into spoon one, go. Dab of the brakes, back down to second gear even to come out of the corner. We've got someone in our mirrors, but it's not a huge deal as Sully runs through then and tries to use that slipstream, but then not be upset too much going through 130R. We'll go into sixth gear, we'll probably drop down to fifth, will we, into 130R? Yeah, indeed. Still struggling with understeer, but so is Jim in front, not losing a huge amount of time here, and that was late on the brakes, too late, as he then clumsily goes through the corner. Thankfully didn't upset Jim too much on the balance on the way through, but I do think Suzuka proving to be a struggle for the karate tortoises here in GTD today, unfortunately. But Jim remaining unscathed, and he'll be trying to buff out the tortoise marks at the back of the car, I think, as well, post-race. So in front of them, Dirksey not really able to catch Thrasher, I think, at this stage. And we'll just check on Aussie, who is fresh out of the pits, fresh on medium tyres, but he's got a lot of work to do. He's catching the group in front, but I think this strategy might have put him in a difficult position to make a great deal of difference come the end of the race. We are only 9 minutes away from the end of the race, 8.5 even, plus of course the lap that they are on as they pass the white flag. It's Huge Dart in P9 down there for Team America in the ill-favoured at this circuit Ford GT. We head to Europe for the next part of our championship. Just one foray over to the Far East, so the drivers will obviously have to resettle, and thankfully with 2 weeks between races they have the opportunity then to sort out their acclimatisation to the new time zones. Kuros Kai is in 11th. Billy Bob is at the back of the grid, doing a lot of learning here, I think, for Team Amazon and for the test and development of both driver and car. Astonishing. Is he astonishing? Well, he certainly is at the moment. He's leading the race from the driver who has won the first two and come second in the third race of this championship. An astonishing leading. But Arcane is dialing up the pace now. He's got the medium tyres working well. He's put in a new fastest final sector, but not fastest lap. Bongit still holds that fastest lap, a 202.030. And is he actually catching the front two? I'm not convinced he's actually able to catch the drivers in front at the moment. And I think that part of that is down to the fact that he's got a heavier car with fuel. So one of these three drivers has got the fuel calculation wrong. Or possibly even two. So at least one driver has made the fuel calculation as it is. Now, I wouldn't bet against Arcane, but he may have to. He may be sweating a little bit with 7.5 minutes to run, and a little bit lighter on fuel than his colleagues around him. I'm sure he knows what he's doing, but this is your podium battle then. Astonishing, Arcane and Bongit. Back to the battle for the remaining points then. Fourth is Thrasher, and Dirksey is being dropped by Thrasher and is now playing blocker once again to the progress of a group of cars. It's Jim most directly behind him, taking a different line through the corner, but there you see, just witnessed how poor the grip is on the inside line out of the hairpin. On the second half of the hairpin, Jim was almost fully alongside and couldn't, on better tyres as well, and couldn't make the manoeuvre. He's going to have to wait, I think, for a mistake from Dirksey, or a bad positioning in order to make a manoeuvre. But Dirksey doing enough at this stage on lap 24 of, wouldn't want to guess, maybe 27 total. We will have Jim with a tighter line going in thanks to those medium tyres, but Dirksey positioning himself deliberately on the middle of the road, not over-committing to the inside, not failing to defend. A nice smooth manoeuvre. And Team Cannibal looking good as well, 6th and 8th at this stage. Sully has managed to stay ahead of Aussie. But will this be a manoeuvre then from Jim against Dirksey? We'll wait to see if he can make the difference. Not quite, but there's a little bit of argy-bargy going on behind him. It's I think just a tiny bit of contact there between Sully and Aussie. Aussie again, slightly clumsy, making contact but not taking advantage, not the old bump and run, and not being unsporting. So he's having a go, and he's not trying to stake a claim here on the positions and do that kind of slightly less ethical manoeuvre of bump someone out of the way and then take the penalty, whatever it comes, while you disappear off up the road. That's not his style today at all. Jim in 6th, looking menacing behind Dirksey. The front three have still not changed. I think, if anything, it looks like Bongit might have started to catch Arcane. Let's have a look and see how close they are. Yeah, Bongit is looking very good here. And I wonder now if Arcane has dialed the engine back a click or two and is starting to worry about that fuel wear situation, because Bongit has caught that way nicely. It's lap 25, and we have 5 minutes to go in the race on the race clock. And Bongit now with an opportunity. We'll see if Arcane starts to lift and coast. In fact, why don't we ride on board with him and watch the throttle trace as we head through 130R. Big lift, of course, through there as always, and then you try and pick that throttle back up again. He was gingerly on that throttle, and then there is a fairly hefty lift. I think that was a lift and coast situation, but we will see. He could just handle it all with the use of the engine, and thanks to the fact that this track doesn't have any really long straightaways, he won't suffer too much by dialing that engine down slightly on the richness of the fuel mix. Getting a good exit out of Casio Triangle there, and Bongit losing what ground he had made up, I think, on the run through that lap. So it might be good for us to just head back down again. Thrasher now pretty much in no man's land in fourth for Team Pike Fitness as this battle continues, and Aussie kind of trying to play the team game here and ask Jim on track, if they're not in a driver chat together, or they don't have a team manager talking them through the race, trying to at least indicate, look, I'm quicker than you, I'm on better tyres, but he's not, in fact. But Jim has much less fuel, and it's probably the least fuel of any driver at the moment, Jim. So he's either got to sip the fuel all the way to a finish, or start thinking about dropping that richness down and running as lean as possible with the fuel mix. And if that is his situation, then the team are best served by him handing the position over to Aussie. But here we go through the Degners, and on the approach to the hairpin, Jim looked very close to Dirksey, and Dirksey even left the opportunity there to Jim to make the move. Jim offline again and again, will lose out on traction on the way out of the following corner. This is Dirksey just ahead of us as we ride on board with Jim. You can see our teammate Aussie in the mean-looking Audi R8 behind us with the Dragon Ball Z. Does it take a bit of the meanness away, or does it add to the meanness, that Dragon Ball Z livery? Jim with good grip on the way out, but he isn't taking advantage of the more grippy side of the exits of the corners here to try and get the momentum and be in a position later on to make the manoeuvre on the run through in towards the Casio Triangle. He's got good grip, he's got good track positioning through here. Dirksey though with likewise a good position on the way through 130R. No mistakes this time from Dirksey. Looks to have had his early race issues, put them behind him, and if anything, the drivers are getting faster and getting closer to Thrasher, and now Aussie with a much better run out of the corner, and Jim allowing Aussie through. That was a clear lift, and he's now in red in the fuel with 2 minutes to go. I think we will get another 2 laps as well as a result of that. Bongit is on the back of Arcane, and we will have that battle now as Thrasher is lowish on fuel. Remember, Arcane, the lowest of the top 3 on the fuel. He might also be turning the engine down. Not as dire a situation as seems to be for Jim. But that is Arcane then. Struggling through, trying to keep the momentum, trying not to apply the throttle too hard, probably short shifting to manage the fuel demands, but Bongit looking like he might be able to take advantage here. Certainly not being held down by the pace of Arcane too much at this stage. Bongit with a good run out of the hairpin, heading towards Spoon next. Will the Aston Martin be able to come through the corner neat and tidy? Well, certainly Spoon 1, that was very neat, but he will suffer some dirty air running through Spoon 2, running right round the outside exit of the corner. Perfect placement of the car, didn't seem to lose out too much, and I don't think with 30 seconds to go, I think we will now get the final lap of the race, and the white flag will be given to our leader Astonishing, who has been able to build a gap now and possibly protect the lead for Team Chameleon, whereas perhaps Arcane is going to struggle to hold on to his second position. This is Bongit with a fantastic run out of the Cassia Triangle. It's almost like he's got push to pass, but that's thanks to running the car at full fuel, I think, and putting enough fuel in it, because he took a bit of pain with the weight of the car, but I think at this stage it looks like Astonishing too far away. Dirksey has absolutely finished the race in 6th, Sully in 7th and Jim in 8th. Let's just check that one out. So Jim in 8th, Huge Jar comes through to take 9th place. We have our Saito coming through as well in the Thing livery with the Honda Aston Martin approach to racing for Team Universal. Our Saito through, Kuros Kai. Billy Bob has already finished a lap down there, so Kuros Kai will be in 11th, absolutely confirmed. And Bongit now, his mission is clear: take huge apexes through Techno 1 and do whatever is possible to pressurise Astonishing into an error. Bongit, though, flashing red with fuel, so is Astonishing. They've calculated the fuel perfectly. Arcane, I'm worried about Arcane making the finish here without going into low fuel mode, but I'm sure he's got enough of a cushion to hold on to third. Has he? Question mark. There's actually not a huge distance between the two, between third and fourth positions. Thrasher at the moment hanging on here against Aussie, who was given that position over by Jim eventually, and Aussie in a good place now. And this is then his Bongit chasing down Astonishing. We'll know as soon as any error comes forward, if it does indeed happen from Bongit's car. We'll see it on Astonishing. Bongit has to just go full beans now, and there you can see Arcane has completely dropped back, trying to make the finish. Astonishing may have turned the engine down as well, and it's going to be a nail biter to the finish. Bongit, I'm sure he'll mash the throttle. I'm sure he'll go for it, as Astonishing is he completely out of fuel here at the finish? I think he might be. He's trying to hold on. Bongit is pushed wide on the final run through the last stretch, through the last curve. That, for me, was dodgy. I'm trying to get a good angle. Let's see. Yeah, pushed out. On the final part of the run through the corner for Astonishing to hold on to the win, but that for me has got a massive question mark behind it. Arcane comes through to finish third. Astonishing wins on the road here in Suzuka. Then we've got Thrasher out of fuel and Aussie taking fourth place right at the finish as well, with plenty of fuel on board and succeeding to take the points. Astonishing holds on then against Bongit, and like I say, I'm concerned about that finish. Arcane, Aussie, Thrasher, Dirksey, Sully, Jim, Huge Jar and our Saito, your top group there in the finish. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed calling it, and thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel for GTD Pro coming up as soon as my voice is filling up to it, and I will catch you on the next